Ladies and gentlemen, CTA Innovation Policy Ninja Award winner, Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for that introduction. I appreciate it, for your encouragement, for your support, all of you for having me here today. It's an honor to receive this award. It's also a childhood dream come true. I always wanted to be a ninja, and I guess I can't wait to tell my kids. But there's a few people I'd like to thank. First, Gary Shapiro and everyone here tonight with the Consumer Technology Association and its member companies. Thank you for shaping the future of our economy. I also want to take a moment to thank Darren Acord, who I believe is here this evening. Gary. Good. All of you should have clapped. He's a very great guy. He was a member of my staff, and who put a lot of his heart into our digital policies, particularly our work on spectrum legislation. That was the basis for the Mobile Now Act, which was passed by committee and is hopefully on its way to the floor. So thank you, Darren, for all of your work. I want to congratulate Senator Booker, who will be here a little bit later this evening, and also Congressman Farenthold on their awards this evening. I'll tease Booker now for weeks that he's not a ninja, and I am. But I've worked with him in particular on several policy ideas in the innovation space. And really, my only complaint is that even after a national presidential campaign, he still has more Twitter followers than I do. But I think I'm beating him on Snapchat, so that's good. So what I wanted to do tonight briefly is give you a few words of encouragement. I know that if you watch cable news that covers our politics, it sounds truly apocalyptic. The end of the world is near, depending on what your views, and we've got some real challenges in this country. We're also living through an extraordinarily exciting moment. Here's the premise of my argument. We are living through an economic transformation equivalent to the Industrial Revolution, and the only difference is it's happening every 5 years instead of over 50 to 100 years. I don't think anybody here or anybody in the world at this point bemoans the fact that we went through an industrial revolution. The world is more prosperous, more productive, safer, you name it. But it was disruptive. The Industrial Revolution was disruptive. Industries that had sustained people for decades and sometimes centuries, they were wiped out. The jobs that entire communities were based around, that families had invested years in, those jobs were eliminated. It was disruptive. But at the end of that process, we are a more prosperous nation for it. So was the world. Well, that's the same thing that's happening now, except it's not happening over 50 to 100 years. It's happening every 3 to 5 years, and it's disruptive. And people are being left behind. You just put yourself in the position of someone in their early to mid-50s, has worked their entire life in a certain industry, and suddenly either that job no longer pays enough or that job has vanished. It was sent to another country, or more often than not these days, it was replaced by technology. That means we no longer need as many workers. And you can just imagine how people feel about that. And then they look to their political leaders, and no one's talking about it. No one's explaining to them what's happening, except maybe someone is saying, well, that job was sent to another country, or that job is, you're being cheated out of that job. And the result is that people are incredibly anxious. And they don't get answers from their political figures. And all the major institutions in society seem to be failing. And then they look at their own lives, and their kids did everything they were asked to do. They got good grades, they went to school, they got a degree, they graduated with a degree, they even borrowed money to get that degree, and they can't find a job either. And the result is this tremendous amount of anxiety and frustration. All of it compounded by the fact that the value of their home was wiped out in 2008, and it still hasn't recovered. They turn on the news, and every single night there's another group that someone's fighting on behalf of, but no one's fighting on their behalf. No one is speaking out about their frustrations, their angers, their anxiety. And the result is what you have today in American politics. What does leadership do in the face of this? Well, leadership has two choices. Number one, you can exploit that anger. You can jump on it, and you can say, I'm going to turn that into votes, and votes into victory. Or number two, you can say, this is a difficult thing we're going through, but I want you to know what we're going to do about it. I want you to know how we can't go back to the past. Yesterday's over. It's gone. It's not coming back. All we can do now is move forward and embrace the future. And we are going to embrace the future in a way that empowers you to succeed. We are going to help you in a time and cost-effective way to acquire the skills you need to benefit from the new economy, to benefit from technology, to benefit from innovation. And that's what this country needs right now desperately. Because I think that at the end of all this innovation, we have a chance to be more prosperous and more productive than we've ever been. The innovation that your industry is leading in, yes, it is going to disrupt the way we used to do things, but it is going to create jobs that do not even have a name yet. It is going to create industries that I cannot yet describe to you. But we need a government that is able to keep pace with that innovation, that creates government policies that allow us to continue to lead the world in innovation. And there is no nation on earth I would trade places with. What people on earth is more creative than Americans? What worker on this planet is more productive? Of all the nations on this planet, there is not a single one that I would trade places with. But we have to embrace this future. We can't fight it, and we can't fear it, and we can't avoid it. Your industry is at the forefront of this. Your industry is going to allow people that have been employees for 40 years to now be self-employed. There was a time in this country where in order to start your own business, you had to be able to afford to rent an office space, advertise in a newspaper and in the yellow pages, hire a big front office. Technology means you can now be in business for yourself, and all you need is access to Wi-Fi. These are extraordinary developments that have equalized and evened out the playing field. But we can only do it if we continue to lead the world in innovation. And that innovation is going to have the opportunity to change every aspect of our lives, from the way we work, to the way we commute, to the way we study. Higher education needs to be infused with innovation. How can we still be teaching people the same things and the same way that we did 55 or 60 years ago? Nothing in this country looks like it did 55 or 60 years ago. Nothing in this country looks the way it did 5 to 6 years ago. And so innovation needs to lead the way there as well. And technology innovation is at the front end of all of this. From better outcomes in medicine, to more transparency in government, to more efficiency to our workers, to more information at the fingertip of every single person. Think back not that long ago, really. I remember I was not a very good student in high school and in middle school, but I was a very curious one. And I always wanted to learn about things. And the only thing that I could do was either read that day's newspaper or go to the school library or the local library and look up something. I'll never forget that my parents, one of the gifts they gave me was the World Book Encyclopedia. I lost the D book, so it was catastrophic on occasion. But it was dated. Think about how different the world is for my kids. My kids can literally learn about anything they want instantaneously. Knowledge once belonged to the people who could afford libraries. Knowledge and information once belonged to the people who could afford to buy books or could afford to go to the place where that information existed. Knowledge is now at the fingertip of every single American, and it's not just at their fingertip, it's on their fingertip in a mobile device where they can read it and access it anywhere. And you tell me that's not going to change the world? You tell me that being able to access real-time weather reports is not going to make agriculture more productive in parts of the world, like in Africa, where for centuries, really, people have suffered? Of course it is. You think it's not going to improve logistics? Of course it is. And it's all going to create jobs. I'll close with this. I'll use this as an example. About a year or two ago, I ran into a group of people, and they were talking about it. Basically, I don't know how the topic came up. We were talking about a fast food restaurant. And I said, you know, in less than 5 years, when you drive up to one of these windows, there's not going to be a person taking your order. There's going to be a touch screen. And you're going to be able to place your order at a touch screen and pay from that touch screen. And you're going to drive up to the window, and maybe, unless they've been able to automate that, someone's going to hand you your Burger King or McDonald's bag. But it's all going to be handled by this machine. And the person said to me, see, that's what's wrong. All that jobs are being eliminated. That job is gone. The job that for, thousands of people were employed by taking those orders. Now they're not going to have a job anymore. And I said, that's true. They're not. But there's these new jobs that are going to be created. The job of coming up with that machine. The job of designing the software that goes into that machine. The job of installing it, the job of maintaining it, the job of one day replacing it. And here's the good news. All of those jobs I just described are going to pay a lot more than the jobs that they're replacing. That's the transition we're living through. And we can't fight it. It's going to happen. And the question is, will we allow it to leave us behind? Or will we embrace it? And will we ensure that millions of Americans, including especially the people that are losing those jobs, will acquire the skills they need for the new jobs that change is going to create? That is the challenge before our country. I'm sad to see that this political year has not spent more time focused on it. Because despite the fact that my campaign did not end the way I wanted it to, its theme was a new American century. We are going to have a new American century one way or the other. And the question is, the sooner we begin, the less people will leave behind, and the more people will be able to live and enjoy the prosperity that the 21st century and the new economy provides us. So I am proud to be associated with your industry. I thank you for the work you do. I honestly believe that the industry you represent and the technology that you're innovating and expanding won't just change the world, but it will change this American century in a way that will empower more people than we have ever seen before. The greatest era in our history is within your reach, and your industry is going to lead the way. So thank you all for this award. I'm honored by it. God bless you all. Thank you.